forward. Okay, here we go. This, ladies and gentlemen, is called, this is still systems of equations or simultaneous equations or whatever you want to do. Systems / simultaneous equations. We just solved them by graphing. Today we go option method number 2, which is solving by substitution. Now, could you solve these by graphing? Yes. Will you get them wrong if you do?
Probably.
Yes, because it says solve by substitution. This is a good skill to know. So please, even though you... Alton Boyd, what's going on?
I was laughing.
At me?
As a joke, yes.
Okay. Alright. And it's a pretty simple little process here. It will come in very helpful in your life. And here are the very, 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 very simple rules. In order to do substitution, number 1, you could write this above there. I did it because that's what. Number 1, in order to do substitution, Carter Westfall, you with me?
Yes.
One of the equations must be solved for one of the variables. Which to you means absolutely nothing until I tell you what it means. Yesterday, you wouldn't have wanted to solve those by substitution. Well, I guess you could have. They were all solved for y, weren't they? What is meant by solving by a variable means you will get a single letter that is equal to something. Now, it could be equal just to one number, or it could be equal to a whole bunch of stuff over here. It doesn't matter, but you have to get something equal to just one letter. So as long as it's in slope-intercept form, you're in good shape because you can do this. If it's in standard form, could you do it?
No.
Yes.
Yes, because you could solve it for a letter. It would take an extra step. But somewhere along the line, you have to get this here. Now watch how nice this is. This is the only simple directions are this. Step number 2 is, the reason this is called substitution is because you substitute what that variable equals in the other, I wish I could pull this down more here, equation. I'm going to let that sink in. I'm going to let that ferment, if you will. Has it fermented, Jacob Licht?
Yes.
Wait, are you done writing already? You okay, Parker?
I was agreeing.
Oh, that's what that was. Alright, here is the gist. The reason why you can't solve an equation like this is because there's 2 variables, there's 2 unknowns. If there's some way I could get it down to just one thing that I don't know, you can solve it for whatever x or y equals. Well, watch this magic. I know that y equals 4. Y and 4 are the same thing. If I know that, then I can take this 4 and put it in for the letter y in the other equation, and then I'm only down to having one letter left that I can solve for. So if I put 4 in for y, and here's where you have to be careful, please, please, please use parentheses. It is 4 times what y equals, which was 4. I put 4 in for y there, and that equals 10. Now it's only got one letter, I can solve it because it ends up being negative x plus 16 equals 10. How do I solve this for x? Subtract 16. Negative x equals negative 6. So positive x equals positive 6. Look how smart you look. You've now solved that for x. Now, unfortunately, you're not done just yet because you need to know what both x and y are.
Well, we have those.
But Connor says,
We have those.
we do? Why?
Because it says y.
Exactly. I know what y equals because this told me what y equals. But, Connor, before you think you're on your high and mighty horse, what's going to happen there when I don't have?
Well, y already equals 4x plus 6. We already solved for it.
But then you have to solve for what x is on there.
Yeah.
Which is
We still
the
already have y.
third step you have to put in here is this. Step number 3 is this. Once you get one letter, once you solve for one variable, comma, you have to use that answer to solve for the other. You'll see what I mean in the next one. This one didn't matter because it was already solved for one and you didn't have to worry about it. For the other. You'll see in just a minute. Long dramatic pause while Brant finishes writing. You done, Brant? Okay, so using that over here, let's look at this equation here. Okay. You look at both of those equations and you say, okay, only one of them is solved for a letter. Which one is that? One of them has a letter all by itself. Why? Because I need to know.
X, y. That
Oh,
letter
what?
y.
So you take a look at your equations.
X.
Here is Mr. Letter that's all by itself. Don't do X because it's got all this other garbage with it. You know that Y equals this. So,
Listen,
huh?
we did believe me. That's what I said.
But then you
So
take x out of it.
you need to take this, what Y equals, and put it in for Y right there. So this is what that'll look like. Negative X minus, you still have to keep the 6, and the 6 is times whatever Y is, so you have to put all that Y garbage in parentheses. This is what Y equaled in that previous equation, so I have to plug that whole thing in for that. And don't forget the rest of this. I now just, in super slow motion, substituted what Y equals for Y here. Got that?
And
Then it's a matter of solving it. I wonder if I talked really fast and when you slowed it down on the YouTube video, if it would actually come out slow.
it could. Depends.
I should do one really fast and slow it down and see if it actually goes normal speed.
Do the entire
Not
lesson
right now.
fast.
We gotta do this right. Please be careful with this. If you're gonna make a mistake, this is where it'll be. This is minus 6 times both of these when we use the distributive property. So let's look. This stays negative x. Negative 6 times 4x is negative 24x. Negative 6 times positive 6 is negative 36. And that equals 14. So to solve this, what do I have to do? Well, I put these two together. What is a minus x and a minus 24x?
Minus 25.
Yeah, you have minus 25x's. I need to add 36 to the other side. I add 36 to the other side, and I end up with a 50. Now, children, please understand this. While not every problem works out, almost all of them for your homework will. So if you get something in the end that gives you some kind of goofy fraction or nothing, something, you probably did something wrong. This one works out, so I think we're in good shape. Divide by negative 25, divide by negative 25. So x equals negative 2. 50 divided by negative 25. What does y equal, you ask?
What does
Well,
Y
now you can
equal,
plug in
yeah?
for x.
Here is where you have to do a little more work because you need to take what x equals now and go back to, it doesn't matter which equation you do it, pick the easiest one. I'm going to put negative 2 in right here and try and figure out what y is. 4 times a negative 2 is a negative 8. Negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2 as well. So both my x and my y are negative 2. If you are really caring about whether you got these correct or incorrect, you can put these two numbers in for your x's and y's and see if these work out. For example, if x is -2 and y is -2, when you put those together, do you get 14? Well, -2 and -2 is +2. -6 times -2 is +12. 2 plus 12 is 14, so it works out. You could do the same thing for that. Don't you feel and look smart?
No,
Yeah, no,
I
I
feel
don't,
like
I don't look
Albert Jr.
smart. My ginger, I don't look smart.
Now, let's take a look at this one. Children, Carter. If you look at this, if you're trying to use substitution there, you run into a small tad bit of a problem because neither one of them is solved for a letter. However, you can solve one for a letter very simply. Parker, which one would you solve and why?
Why?
Your answer, the correct answer is either the top one or the bottom.
Oh.
Let's go with that. Why the bottom one?
Because it already has a letter.
Right, because this y doesn't have a number in front of it, you can solve it for y by simply subtracting the 5x to the other side. So y equals -5x plus 7. And now once you've got that, by the way, if you tried to graph this, you get all sorts of goofy things because, you know, if you tried x-y intercepts, you're going to get 5/3 and you're going to get 1/3 or whatever. So substitution might be your best bet here. So now I take what y equals and I'm going to put it in for y there and see what happens. 15x plus 3 times what y is, and again that needs to be in parentheses, -5x plus 7. That's going to equal 5. Stop me there, you can see what just happened there. It's like shake and bake. The magic man. You're going to distribute out this 3, so you get 15x minus 15x, that's going to be enough there, plus 21 equals 5. Did I do something wrong? No, I think I got it right.
Wow. Letters.
Alright, what is 15x minus 15x?
0.
0x. Subtract 21 to get it over there, subtract 21 to get it over there. And you get, what do I get? -16, correct?
Yes.
So, we are in a small quandary here, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen. 0x equals -16. What is my answer to that if I solve that for x?
I don't know, maybe you should show us.
What answer is that? Faith, what's your thoughts? Watch. Think about what do you do to get, what do you do when you do a normal equation? You divide by what's in front of the x. What does this mean?
You can't divide by no solution. Undefined.
It is no solution. Now let's see how sharp you really are. We talked about this. If you have simultaneous equations and you get no solution, if you were to graph those, what would the graph of that look like?
Parallel.
Yeah, those are parallel lines. If I actually graph this, I would get 2 parallel lines. They don't cross anywhere, so you get no solution. Now please, let's take a small moment and a deep breath at this point to understand this, Amelia Goss. Okay, if this was reversed and I had -16x equals 0, that is not the same thing. You can divide 0 by -16 and get 0 for one of your answers. Okay, so don't think that just because one of them 0, you cannot solve it. You can solve it as long as there's not the 0 in front of the x. If the 0 ends up on the other side, that just means one of the places it crosses at where x is 0. So don't, I just have to caution you because sometimes you just start thinking that good thoughts, bad thoughts, or other thoughts. Well, I suppose we should try this one. Should I set you free? Try this one on your own. To see if you cannot get some sort of answer here. Does any know is Abrams average still okay? Have I talked to him?
Everyone supposedly has 100 feet.
103.
No, the high was 103.
Oh.
103.
I heard 102, Evelyn.
Kills him 4 times.
I heard 102.
He was telling us it was 100.
Yeah,
He
he
was
was
like,
slicing out.
he was like,
He's thinking with 100 kills in Fortnite. What about maybe a second?
Let's just continue. You should be close to being done. There's a good chance that this is a, I don't know what this would be. If I was thinking, I probably made this the same line. No, maybe not. Maybe it gets an answer, I don't know. And then we will wrap. Oh man, where has all our time gone? Good thing we have lots of time at the end of the day. At some point, we're going to set up chairs. Like I said, you look really smart if you can do this, because there's a lot of scratching on, moving on X's and Y's, and solving for this and that. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you could test and see if it works. Makes sense on the bottom one, I think. Uh-oh. Wade has a puzzled look on his face. Brad, did you get an answer? Where are you stuck at? Sir? You must know, because you're the one doing the problem.
I know.
Where are you stuck at, Wade?
Getting the Y very
Did you get X?
Yeah.
What'd X equal?
-8.
Huh?
I got -8.
So, just put -8 right here. -8 minus y equals -2. Add 8. Add 8. You get +6 equals -y. Y must equal -6. Just a matter of filling in the proverbial blanks there. Let's look at this. I would assume, by the way, that to do this, you actually solve this one for x. Now, you could have done y, but then you end up dealing with a whole bunch of minus signs and things like that. So I would just add y to this side. So x would equal y minus 2. Can we do that? Most people do that. No, you don't have to. You could have solved for y, and it's going to work out. I'm just saying, to be the easiest way would be to do this. So you put this in for x right there. So 7 times what x is, which is y minus 2, minus 6y equals -20. Distributive property is 7y minus 14 minus 6y equals -20. Combine your y's, oh look how nicely that works out. You get 1y, add 14, y equals -6. Then once you knew that, which apparently Wade you solved the other way as well, you put -6 in for y. By the way, you can go back to this equation that you already solved for x and put -6 in for y right there. -6 minus 2, x is -8.
I did that differently, but I still got the same.
No, you can't. This is all about your choices. If you really wanted me to go for the jugular, we could solve this one here for x
I did that on accident.
and put a whole bunch of fractions into it, and it'll still work out, but it's really painful to do. Now, we do have to do this last one here. You've been a very attentive group for this one here. This is what I was talking about. This problem number 6 on your thing there. Let me zoom in a little bit so I can get a good copy of this. This is what, is that good enough or not?
Yes.
That would be 500%.
More. I love the 500%.
Why is it so? Is that 500%?
That's 193.
This is what I was talking about when I said that you need to define what you're talking about and life will go much better for you. Take a look at this. By the way, it's going to be too big, so. What in the world? Anybody know what's going on here?
Well, Abram's not here to solve the problem, so.
What is it?
Press the back arrow.
Maybe if we just continue to undo it, which
Yeah, undo arrows.
I know, but something is just gone.
something's
Something's not
bugging.
right.
Something
Right
stuck
here.
here.
Bugging.
I can't even go to a new page.
I can't wait to watch this video. I hear everyone talking.
He's had some pretty good
I know.
Jokes.
proverbial heritage was in there.
Alright, back to this. So, story problems, which really make everybody's life happy.
Yes, they do.
So here you go. If you're doing this problem here, the school that John goes to is selling tickets to a spring musical. On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 1 senior citizen ticket and 6 child tickets for a total of $67. The school took in $109 on the second day by selling 7 senior tickets and 6 child tickets. What is the price of each senior citizen ticket and 1 child ticket? As I said before, you've got 2 unknowns. The first thing you do is write down You write down what you need to know or what your unknowns are and use common sense here. For example, I'm going to use the letter C and call that how much a child ticket is. That's actually the dollars is what you're looking for. And obviously the senior citizen would be S. That would be the dollars for an adult ticket. And then here comes my equation. On the first day, how many senior citizen, how many child tickets? I sold 1 senior citizen, so you can put a 1 there, you don't need it. And how many children ticket? 6. If I add the amount of dollars for this to the amount of dollars for that, I ended up with $67. There's equation number 1. Equation number 2, I sold 7 senior citizens tickets and 6 children's tickets. And my total I took in there was $109. So those are your 2 simultaneous equations. We're solving this by substitution. So Wade, the logical thing to solve for would be what on where? Pretend this isn't here. Yeah, you can get S by itself simply by subtracting 6C to the other side. So S equals, and we can go 67 minus 6C, it doesn't matter. And then you are just going to, by the magic of mathematics, substitute this in for the letter S in this equation. By the way, don't substitute this in for the letter S on the equation that you just transformed because you'll end up with some strange 0 equals 0 something or other because it's just got that? So here we go. Let's try this. 7 times what S is. S was 67 minus 6C plus another 6C equals 109. Stop me there. If something did not make sense, where do we go from here now that all the children have grown up? Everybody knows that 7 times 67 is 42 and 49.
469.
469 minus 42 C's plus 6 C's equals 109. Looks like we got some negatives to deal with here. Negative 42C plus 6C is 36C.
Negative 36.
Which you might think is bad, but it's not going to be bad because we're going to end up with a negative number on the other side because I have to subtract 469. And if I subtract 469, why did I put it on top? Because we're taking the difference of those 2 things. I have 109 to the good and 469 to the bad. I end up with 360 negative, which is good because in the end I'll get positive. Divide by negative 36. Divide by negative 36. Oh, look. C equals 10. Now, because you were smart and at the beginning you labeled what your letters stand for, you just go back to what you wrote down and you know that C is how much a child ticket is. A child ticket is $10. A senior citizen ticket, you can go back to right here, put $10 in for the child. 6 times 10 is negative 60, and 67 minus 60 is $7 for a senior citizen ticket, because you have those all labeled. How about that? Again, welcome to the world of slightly more complicated math than just 6th grade stuff, but it's all baby little steps that you stop.